Hello, hello. Get that audio check done real quick. I'm gonna take off. Ripping and running. Ripping and running. All right. I'm wearing my Killing It shirt today. Because that's what we're doing. We are killing it. All right, excellent. Sounds good. If you have ever had any doubts about what the Phoenix phenomenon is, you won't have those by the time this video is complete. You will have an excellent understanding of the entire thesis. Let me remove that video from the deal. All right. So, long before my YouTube career, I had over a dozen books published. Now, 3 of those books, When the Sun Darkens, second book, Nostradamus and the Planets of Apocalypse, third book, Shocking Secrets of Antiquity, a massive book filled with data. These 3 books about the Phoenix. And since the 1700s, there really hasn't been any books concerning this genre of information. People have picked at it, there have been people getting very, very close, but this is an ancient corpus of information that was widely known in the old world. And this is why the Phoenix phenomenon data comes from old books, as I've shown over and over. But we need to attack this from a different perspective. Anyone who's going to bring something novel to the field that has not been seen in centuries and wants it to be criticized, to be entertained, for greater thinkers than themselves to ascertain, to divide the fictions from the facts, then everything needs to be transparent. I do not fear criticism of the Phoenix phenomenon, but it does seem like a lot of people fear to attack it. I've put myself out there in published books, hundreds of articles, and hundreds of videos now. So the information's in the field. But if we were to debunk this massive corpus of data, we first have to know what it is. Once we understand what it is, where it comes from, then we can actually put together a plan of attack on how to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon data. That's what this video is going to do. I'm going to show it to you. I have no problem giving my professional adversaries the very ammunition they need if they think they're qualified to build the gun to shoot it. It's going to be all right here in this video. So, let's get to it. What exactly is the Phoenix phenomenon? We don't have any time to tarry. We got to get into it. All right. So this file is so massive, I have got to go into a SSD drive attached to my computer. We're going into the SSD drive, straight into a Phoenix file that opens up into a crap load of Phoenix files. All right. Share my screen. All right. And it's going down. Let me collapse this a little bit so you guys can see it good. And we already have whole playlists. We've got Hundreds of videos, hundreds of articles, 3 published books, a massive amount, 13,000 posts in X. We're not going into a lot of detail. I'm just giving you the business on what exactly the Phoenix phenomenon is. So the thesis is the conclusion of the thesis concerns the year 2040. 2040 AD, the month of May, precisely mid-month, is attached mathematically, conceptually, geometrically, and calendrically with major events in world history that we cannot ignore because what happened on those events and how they are mathematically separated. So, the Phoenix thesis concerning 2040 is about some type of lithospheric displacement, some type of sky stellosphere shift, oceans slipping their basins, New York City, London, and hundreds of cities are shoved undersea, worldwide volcanism, continental quakes, mud floods, red rains, cosmic dust fallout. It's always red dust fallout. This is the subject matter of the sixth seal of the apocalypse. It is the sixth sky dragon of Mother Shipton. It is the black sun of the Hopi. It is Fenrir who appears in the sky to swallow the sun and the moon in the weird of the gods, Ragnarok, which means the day of darkness. This event will be experienced by the entire world. But aside from coastal ruin, the loss of both New York City and London, the West will fare well, but the Far East will be the center of Phoenix fallout. And there are reasons for this. This is 2040, but the events coming in 2040 and 14 more years are absolutely connected in the time continuum to events that happened in 1902. In May, an unknown star appeared, quakes, volcanic eruptions, red rain, dust veils. Charles Fort called 1902 the other dark age of 1902. Much has been scrubbed from the history records about this year. Phoenix again transited, bathing the surface in hundreds of millions and tons of red dust. Volcanoes in Guatemala and Saint Martinique killed about 40,000 people. Those numbers have since changed since this was drafted. It's now known that there was 4 different volcanoes and they killed over 65,000 people. But the events of 1902 pale in comparison to this one little paragraph, as we'll see in this presentation. This is just an overview. A whole lot happened in 1902, for which we've got like 6 videos. Now, but 2040 and 1902 are directly connected to the events of 1764 AD and 1763. For those who don't know, a Phoenix year is not like a modern Gregorian year. It's not. Gregorian years are from January to December. Phoenix years are from May to April. May is the first month of a Phoenix year. It starts in May and it ends at the end of April well, actually it's May to May. I'm sorry, it's May to May. Because it starts in the middle of May and it ends at the middle of May for the full annular circle. But Phoenix years are different. So a Phoenix year begins in 1763 to May 1764. So in 1763, a strange sun darkening episode occurred over Europe, and sky objects were over Germany, earthquakes and volcanic eruptions in Sweden, Italy, India, North America, and Hungary. In 1764, massive death toll in India from earthquakes. A tornado destroys forests around Mecklenburg, Germany. Not a place they really get tornadoes. High winds and tsunamis afflict England. Massive, strange objects appear in the sky over Europe with rains of blood. Astronomer Hoffman in May watches a dark object pass over 1/5 of the sun's surface as 1,000,000 Europeans see it with the naked eye, traveling from north to south over the ecliptic. We'll see a chart here that makes that make sense after a while. Astronomers dismissed it because everything travels on the ecliptic. They're not used to being told by another professional astronomer that something came out of the midnight dark of northern space, crossed over and darkened the sun, and disappeared traveling southward. They don't like being told that because it doesn't go with the Newtonian models. But this is what was observed. But this was mathematically connected to 1626 when subglacial volcanic eruptions at Iceland occurred. Italian quakes killed 17,000 people, destroying 30 towns. The Chinese record a sun darkening. Stones fell from the sky and killed many. In the month of May, a roar from northeast China traveling in the morning obliterated a small area, the ground sinking over 20 feet. But this was connected perfectly to 1488. The year 1488, Mother Shipton was born. The prophecies from one named Ursula Southhill. She was supposedly illiterate. I don't know, but she is said to be the origin of her famous poem about the returning two sky dragons. This is an occult literature, but she's perfectly describing the Phoenix phenomenon, followed by the Nemesis X phenomenon. This is connected to the year 1212 AD, and you will see the connection as clear as day here in a little while. But 1212 AD, Holland's tsunami kills 306,000 people pulled out to sea. Earthquakes in Iceland. France, a colored rain fell and halos across the sky were seen. A red aurora was over England. A shower of blood at Caen. 3 crosses in the sky at Falaise. This is France. Novgorod, Russia, early frost destroyed the harvest. Children were sold as slaves for bread. Mass human vanishings, quakes in the Middle East, vanishings covered up in tradition of the Children's Crusade, which begins with a flaming cross seen in the sky over Germany, and then hundreds of thousands of children vanished across Europe. And the church invented a lie called the Children's Crusade and said that they marched on Islam in the Middle East since the adults couldn't take Jerusalem back, but it was a cover-up. The church and the state could not be seen not having an answer for why so many children vanished. 1212 AD is also the first official year that Tartaria enters the historical record as a geographical location, recognized by foreign powers and introduced into the world maps. That's 1212, but it's connected directly to all of these later events. But we go further back in history to the next year that is perfectly mathematically connected to all these events. It is the year 936 AD. Belgium records an obscuration of 17 days where the sun darkened. That started with the sky being clear. Then it turned blood red, and the sun disappeared for 17 days. Armies were seen fighting in the sky over France. A mountain in Saxony belched flames. The Chronicle of Magdeb has the sun going dark and becoming like blood. A plague followed and the death of many people. The sun, like blood, was seen over Ireland. Massive destruction from Scandinavia to the Black Sea and into Mesopotamia. It should say into Mesopotamia all the way to Baghdad. But Poland is devastated. Depopulation throughout northern Europe. Bulgaria's metropolis, named Pliska, was covered in erosion material. What does that mean? My Archaics veterans know. That carbonaceous sky fallout that blankets the world, sometimes during red rains causing mud floods. This erosion material is the carbonaceous material that Charles Fort documented over and over and over, falling from the sky. Gunnar Heinsohn, chronologist, concludes that some celestial super monster that appeared in the 3rd century AD and again in the 6th century AD during the Justinian disasters appeared a 3rd time in the 930s AD. That's very compelling, because this phenomenon that we have documented, called the Phoenix phenomenon, did happen in the 3rd century AD. It also happened in the 6th century AD, and here it is in the 930s. He's absolutely correct, and he didn't know anything about the Phoenix phenomenon at all. He just linked three separate European disasters to the same cause. So he also linked them to being connected to volcanoes. Archaics veterans, as you know, you're already seeing new archaics data in here you have never seen before. But this is directly mathematically calendrically connected to a previous year, the year 798 AD. Quakes and the darkening of the sun and flooding in Mayan cities. So Central America was what was destroyed. A record of Constantinople has the sun darkened for 17 days over England as well. Immense snows kill men and animals in Ireland. The year 660 AD precedes this, but it's also on the same timeline. The sky burned over Scotland. For many months in Japan occurred strange phenomena that ended the Bakji kingdom. Animals acted strangely. An unknown large fish banked up on the shore, equal to our 9 meters. A human giantess of massive proportions was found floating on the waters. Well water turned the color of blood, as did the Sabi River. A plague of frogs appeared in the trees, and large numbers of people were disoriented and suffered memory loss. Throngs of people terrified while others watched, not understanding why they fled. Many fell dead with no apparent cause. Does this not sound like the Colburn Bible every time the doom shape appears? Many fell dead with no apparent cause. An apparition of a large red horse appeared and was seen by many. A large red horse appeared and was seen by many. At this time appeared the Hinotori, also called the Feng Wang or the Phoenix. Not making any of this up. This is in the Japanese, and Korean historical records. But this is connected directly to a previous event. 522 AD, the Dark Ages begins in Europe and by extension the whole world. Historian C.E. Britton on the reign of Octa of Kent, the Welsh Annals records the appearance of a sky dragon. 522 AD is the 60th year of Nemesis X. Archaics veterans will know what we're talking about. It's also the appearance of the Phoenix. The only time in all of world history, going 10,000 years in the past and 10,000 years into the future from this date, that these two phenomena appear in the same year. Earthquakes devastated Olympia, Greece. Sky dragons were seen over Britain. A celestial war of monsters raining great drops of blood, followed by famine. Old records of Kent record that a strange star appeared attached to a light ray that ended in a flaming dragon. The Dark Ages began. It is the only year in history when Phoenix and Nemesis X object are in the sky at the same time, in the same year. Old Britain records claimed it was a celestial war of monsters, raining great drops of blood followed by famine. During this 60-year presence, the Mache culture of Peru vanished. Gunnar Heinsohn concludes some celestial supermonster returned from the 3rd century AD like a terrible comet. This is the origin of your calendar. It is the origin of the Anno Domini calendar. But it's connected mathematically and calendrically to a previous event in the year 384 AD. Like Callisthenes in his life work, Chronicon, records a bloody pillar in the sky. Now, there was a darkening of the sun, and the records declare it was not an eclipse, but it was dated 394 AD, long after the event because the Anno Domini calendar was invented in 526 and also backdated to that year. But the church removed the 552-year Boudic cycle of the Phoenix and replaced it with a new 532-year Paschal cycle, which caused the confusion. 394 AD is exactly 138 years before 532 AD, which shows the chronology was still preserving a 138-year period, but it was backdated improperly. So, but basically, what this is saying is that the sun going dark is for the year 384 AD. And had not the church changed cycles, which removed 10 years, this would have been a perfect dating for the Phoenix phenomenon. We have a video on YouTube explaining why the church wanted to remove the 552-year cycle. But this was connected directly to a previous year. That year was 246 AD. Old Britain's annals record a bloody sword in the sky and a rain of blood. At Lincolnshire, England, the sea floods thousands of acres that are all lost permanently to the new shoreline. Gunnar Heinsohn concludes that some celestial supermonster tried to end the Roman Empire at this time. But this is connected directly to another event on the same perfect mathematical timeline, not 1 year deviating. It is 31 BC. A sky dragon in the heavens over Egypt. Greece, a fiery torch is seen in the sky for many days. An earthquake in Asia Minor, in Tralles, in Lydia, and in many cities also in Ionia, I think it's Mysia and Aetolia. Macedonians record a continental quake from the Aegean to Judea in the month of May during the Battle of Actium. Olympia has a terrible earthquake, and the worst earthquake in Jerusalem's history is in this year. The Yucatan Peninsula is ruined. 31 BC is the final date steal of the Olmeca and has a long count date equivalent to our 31 BC. Emperor Augustus implemented, pay attention, Emperor Augustus implemented a new Egyptian calendar for 30 BC that Robert Graves, undisputed Greek authority, published, claimed was a new Phoenix age. Yeah, this is new material too, guys. Robert Graves, undisputed historian, undisputed authority on Greek and Egyptian antiquities, he published that Emperor Augustus changed the calendar in 30 BC. And he did it in recognition of the Phoenix Age. This is in the historical record. But this is connected. This is connected to a year before that. That's perfect. It's on the perfect mathematical timeline. It's 169 BC. And in 169 BC, a fiery torch is seen in the sky over the Mediterranean. But we don't have any other data than that I've been able to find. But this is connected to 307 BC. We're going further and further back in time. In the Dutch Oralin text, there is a record of a vast disaster across Europe. Both China and the Parian marble have strange objects in the sky about this date within 2 years. But this is connected to another year, even further back in history. It is the year 445 BC. Archaeologist De Jong recorded a disaster caused by a comet. He has comet because he just knows the disaster came from the sky. But it was a comet that caused widespread fires, with 800,000 being the death toll. For this year, the sun darkened over China and the stars appeared in the daytime. But this is perfectly mathematically connected on the same pattern going all the way to 2040 to the year 583 BC. One of the 7 wise men of Greece, Ionian scholar Thales of Miletus, predicted the darkening of the sun in 585 BC. 2 years before it even happened, he predicted it was going to happen. And he predicted it was going to happen in the month of May. Vandenberg, this is in the Vandenberg data, the new calendar instituted at Delphi. In May. Let's say the Vandenberg data has a new calendar instituted at Delphi, just like 31 BC. The Delphic calendar has its year one as 582 BC. It's a phoenix cycle. The Japanese imperial period of the sons of the sun begins. An eclipsed sun on a monument at Yasilakaya commemorates the day that the sun darkened and stopped a battle between the Medes and the Lydians in the month of May 583 BC. None other than Nebuchadnezzar II, king of Babylon, was there to officiate the truce. But this is connected perfectly. The exact same mathematical pattern connects it to 721 BC, even further back. Assyrian inscriptions has the New World Age beginning. This is in Assyrian inscriptions. Also, in this year, the kingdom of Israel falls to Assyria. The lost 10 tribes of Israel narrative begins. These people literally vanished from the historical record. Almagest, uh, in Ptolemy's Almagest and Plutarch, Ovid, Marcus Well, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea why any of that happens. I got a really good microphone. It baffles me that StreamYard does that. Every once in a while, StreamYard just turns off my mic settings. Has nothing to do with me. I'm not touching anything. They just do it. I don't have a bad connection. It's StreamYard. All right. Lost my train of thought. I'm on 721. We're talking about the 10 tribes of Israel. All right. Go back to sharing my screen. Matter of fact, I can probably blow that up a little bit. So Chinese, okay, we have Marcus Varro. Okay, in the Almagest, Plutarch, Ovid, Marcus Varro record the sun and the moon darken, clouds are seen in the heavens, flames in the sky, noises from the sky. Chinese astronomers mention the event of the sun darkening found in a list of Confucius. Now, there's a lot of people, because they have no frames of reference, that come into Archaics and listen to these accounts and actually think we're talking about eclipses, that we're talking about the moon. It's the only thing they have a frame of reference for because they've been brainwashed into the uniformitarian solar cosmic model. But at Charles Fort and many of these ancient historians are very clear that it is not the moon that darkens the sun. And if you use stellarium, like if you use the astronomy software, you will see at these dates there were no eclipses. So, well, a lot of these dates there were no solar eclipses. A lunar eclipse is when the moon disappears. A solar eclipse is when the moon covers the sun. They're a lot rarer. So, yeah, we are not talking about none of this phenomena: red dust falling from the sky, volcanic activity, mud floods, earthquakes, subsidence, carbonaceous material falling from the sky, weird fiery sky dragons, celestial monsters appearing in the sky. None of that shit has had anything to do with the moon blocking the sun. Another agency, something else is darkening the solar orb. And it's on a perfect mathematical pattern. Now, all right. So, sounds good. Everybody says it sounds back. So if you don't have sound, that's on you. I can see the lights on my microphone. I know they're working. All right. Now, but this is connected. 721 and the total vanishing of the 10 tribes of Israel and the sun going dark. It's connected directly to. Oh, and the Assyrians writing that it was a new age. It's connected perfectly to an earlier event, 859 BC. The phoenix symbol appears on an Assyrian relief commemorating Israelite King Jehu, paying homage to a Assyrian king, and the monument is dated 859 BC. I show a picture of this in my book, When the Sun Darkens. It shows Jehu bowing down to the king of Assyria while his servants are giving gifts. Above the king of Assyria and the Israelite king bowing down is a symbol of the phoenix. It's right there. And the monument is dated 859, and it's on this perfect mathematical pattern. Thank you, Prophet. That's flow state. So this is connected perfectly to one of the most famous events in world history. But it's been misdated by almost everyone. 1135 BC is on this pattern. Cataclysms at this time confirmed by Dr. Barry Wormkessel, who calls it Vulcan. The Tuatha Danann predicted the sun darkening before the Second Battle of Moytura, when they defeated the Fomorians, or the Furbolgs. Well, I always get them confused. So, Mediterranean Dark Age begins. Minoan Linear B collapses. This is a script. It collapses. It had started because of a similar event like this. The mandate of heaven in China changes. An object darkened the sun and turned it blood red over Babylon. Mediterranean tsunami, dust rains, and Atlantis island civilization vanishes, and the sea peoples never again invade the Mediterranean. The fall of Atlantis was in 1135 BC, as I have so meticulously shown in other chronological presentations. 1273 BC. This is perfect. This is on the same timeline, connected to 2040. Atreus predicted the sun darkening, sky bloody red. Socrates, Archilochus, Seneca, in Thyestes, Euripides in Electra, the annals of King Merciless II of Hatti, they all mention this event. 1273, and Atreus wins the kingship of Argos against his brother because the people wanted a scientist they wanted a scientist astronomer for a king and not a warrior like his brother. But this is perfectly connected to an even older event. It's on the exact same timeline. 1411 BC, temporal pole shift, with the sun stopped its movement across the sky for almost an entire day. A new star appeared. Meteoritic fallout from the sky. It destroyed the armies of Canaan. The sky turned bloody red. There was flooding. This is the origin of the Phaethon myth, when Phaethon accidentally let go of the reins of the solar chariot horses and the sun went crazy. This is 1411. 1549 BC is even more ancient, and it's mathematically perfectly connected to all of these events connected to 2040 AD. 3 suns shone, an unusual storm, the sun dimmed, there was a red sky, tsunamis, and disaster in the Cyclades region. But this was perfectly, mathematically, and calendrically connected to one of the worst destructions in the entire human historical record. 1687 BC, in the month of May, the Ogygian flood cataclysm. At this time, confirmed by Dr. Barry Wormkessel, who calls it Vulcan. Jacob foreknew of the sun darkening. The people of Tiahuanacu predicted the coming of the sun disaster. That's South America. The Heliolithic maritime empire collapses. New world age in India begins. 25-year darkness and famine recorded across the Mediterranean and in the Americas. Both hemispheres recorded a 25-year darkness. Minoan linear A begins, a giant object seen in the sky. The sons of the Sun dynasties all collapse, and dated precisely by historian W.J. Perry in his huge book called Children of the Sun. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know anything about the Phoenix phenomenon. All he did was say at this date, all the dynasties of the old Bronze Age seem to have collapsed. For some reason, they all just disappeared. So this is the date. This is the date for the disaster over Canaan, of the sun darkening and a terrible earthquake in the Book of Jasher. The Book of Jasher is a chronological record. 1687 is the precise date it gives. In the Jasher chronology, it's the year 2208. It's 2,208 years of the Anno Mundi timeline, but 2208 of the Anno Mundi timeline is exactly 1687 BC of the Gregorian calendar, as I've shown in Chronicon. How you can calculate it, it's so easy. This is the date of the destruction written about in the Chinese bamboo books. Marcus Varro mentions the Ogygian deluge. Augustine, Julius Africanus. This is the Kraken floods of Joppa, and the darkening of the sun in this Perseus story. You know of it as Clash of the Titans. Perseus was the hero. He's the destroyer. This is a legend. This is the destruction of Easter Island civilization and many others. This is 1687 BC, is also known as the Avellino event. This is a massive eruption of Vesuvius and many other volcanoes. The biblical dating for the 7-year famine in Egypt in Genesis occurs during this 25-year darkness period. But this is connected to a more obscure, more ancient date. It's the same mathematical pattern that connects it to 2040 AD. A temporal pole shift, quakes, bodies of water are moved. Many giants were overthrown by the new hero, Amar Udaak, known later as Mar and Marduk, but in India he was Rama. 1963 BC, Amar Udaak becomes Merodach of Akkad, Marduk of Babylon, and Nimrod of the Jews. But this is connected to another horrific event, mathematically perfectly connected on the same timeline, connecting it to 2040. This is 2239 BC, the Great Flood in the month of May, year 1656 of the Old World, Annus Mundi calendar, caused by the Phoenix, anciently known as the Appen. The cataclysm at this time confirmed by Dr. Barry Warmkessel, who called it Vulcan. Deluge predicted and told to Noah. It was told to Manu, Utnapishtim, Zasudra. Antediluvian period ends. It's over. The vapor canopy collapses. This causes the birth of the sun, which was hidden by the vapor canopy. Once the great flood occurred, now the sun came out. That's why we have rainbows. After the flood, not before it. The Heliolithic age begins. The mandate of heaven in China changes. A new star appeared. Hundreds of cities are shoved under sea. Worldwide volcanism, continental quakes and mud floods, red rains and cosmic dust fallout. Temporary pole shift. That means the stellosphere shifted and danced. It's perfectly dated and described in the book of Jasher. This is this is when Mul-Appen astronomy begins in Babylonia. Remember, the Mul-Appen astronomy begins with a cataclysm. This is what started the Babylonians to start watching the moon. Lunar calendars and lunar zodiacs are centuries older, and it was only until an event in the 8th century BC that all the civilizations of the world together lost faith in counting the moon, the houses of the moon. And the moon's journey across the sky was shelved and put away, and every civilization in the world in the 7th century BC adopted a solar calendar. The reason they did this is because something happened in the 8th century and they lost faith in the moon. Now they all started their solar calendars and solar zodiacs. We've got several videos on this topic. It's not the subject matter here. British Archaeology in 1997. That's a prestigious magazine. In the article titled Comets and Disasters in the Bronze Age, they published, at some time around 2300 BC, give or take a century, a large number of major civilizations of this world collapsed simultaneously, it seems. Now, Frank Joseph, in one of his published books, goes into more detail and explains that in 1997 and 1998, a consortium of scientists from all different, it was interdisciplinary, from all different fields of study, had formally concluded that around 2300 to 2200 BC, the whole world died, and they couldn't explain why, but everybody had theories. So this is connected perfectly and mathematically to an even more ancient event that happened during the pre-flood world. 2653 BC, Ireland, a poisonous inundation of the sea and 7 lakes overflowed the land. Zechariah Sitchin records a major disaster for the world in this period within a 5-year span. This is interesting because Ireland actually has monuments that date to this period. Ireland actually has megalithic, huge, like Newgrange, which Newgrange was built even before this happened. This is perfectly perfectly calendrically, mathematically, and conceptually connected to a much more ancient event in 3895 BC, for which we have so much data that I just left it with this little here. My archaics veterans already know 3895 BC is year one of the ancient world. No, I'm not a creationist. No, it's not the beginning of the world. It's actually a destruction that's so perfect that the survivors thought that it was a new heavens and a new earth. And that's why Adam and Eve are depicted as naked, because they had completely lost their infrastructure. The stellosphere shifts, oceans slip their basins, total systemic reset. This is the Adam and Eve Genesis reset that begins the famous 1,656 years of the pre-flood world, recorded in Genesis and in so many other ancient citations. And this is connected to an event, mathematically also connected to 2040, the earliest event that we ever have on record of this phenomenon. 4309 BC. This is 414 years before the Annus Mundi timeline. Phoenix is actually named in ancient tradition as causing this event. Phoenix first appeared, and it ends it's the 930th year of a civilization that it ends. It's 930 years after the Nemesis cataclysm of 5239 BC. Phoenix appears as the Apen in Sumer and the Pen deity in ancient Egypt. The world is destroyed. Phoenix is keeper of the calendar to keep the archons in check. This is ancient tradition. It is the instrument of the creation, destruction, reset cycle, whatever that means. So we just went through every single period of time: the sun darkening, red dust, red rain, red mud, mud floods, subsidence, cities and people sinking into the ground, tsunamis, land masses going up and down, earthquakes, volcanic activity, carbonaceous material raining and covering whole cities. This phenomenon where the sun goes dark and the moon turns red, which is described in the book of Revelation as the sixth seal. It is the Phoenix phenomenon. I just gave you every single date that we have data on. In some of those dates, we have overwhelming data. But that's not the real mystery here. Every single period of time is listed here below. Every single period of years that I just gave you is perfectly divisible by 138. This is a hurdle. If we're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, we have got to attack that. Every historical event I just provided to you is on a timeline of 138 years. These are all the numbers of every event that I just gave you. Every single one of those events. These are the spreads between those events. Every number on this list is divisible by 138 years. So, if we're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, we've got our work cut out for us. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying that this must be, it's paramount that we deconstruct these events and try to date them in other years so this can't be true. All right, we just got through the first phase of this video. Exit that real quick. I'm not using Jesuit programming, man. Shut up, man. Get out of my chat, man. Yeah, get the hell out of my chat. So dumb. That's going to be from somebody who has absolutely no idea the 10,000 data points I have in historical chronological antiquities. It's going to be some moron. Get out of my chat, man. Go to X, where I just debunked flamenco. We're not missing years, brother. We're missing history. History has been tampered with. All right, let's see here. Now we're going to go to the next part, the next phase. I gotta open up this SS. You know what? That might have been what turned my mic off. Takes a lot of processing power. I'm in this. I'm in an external drive now because the Phoenix file, it's not gonna fit on my computer. So I'm going back into this drive, and we're going into the next phase. I got to move faster. If I'm gonna fit all this in 3 hours, I got to move faster, guys. Absolutely. So that in and of itself is a data set that all those historical events are 138 years apart. But I'm not saying that we can't disentangle that. I'm not claiming that. I'm not claiming it can't be debunked. I'm not. But it is a challenge. I don't think anybody can, but I'm not claiming it can't be done. I just don't think it can. So let's go to the next one. Because we have to debunk that. That list I gave you of events, we're going to have to debunk that list because that list also makes this true. And this is critical. Pay attention. I'm gonna increase the size so we can all see this good. Hold on, let me get this thing out of my way. Okay, good. There we go. So there are 9 numbers from the historical records that are not approximates, but very specific. And they all concern destruction, reset cycles of the world, and ancient calendars. Do you recognize these numbers? Every single one of those historical events that I showed you are separated in time and space with these numbers right here. Here are the numbers that I just showed you. 138. 414 is 138 times 3. 552, a Phoenix cycle, is 138 times 4. Here's 1242 years right here. I do believe that's 144 times 8, or 144. Excuse me, it's 138 times 7 or 8. 1656 is 138, 12 times over. Every single one of these is divisible by 138. Every single one of these numbers. But that's not the mystery. The mystery is where we found these numbers in the historical record. This is the second data set, and it's a problem. It's a problem. We have to completely dismantle these citations because they prove the earlier data set. So we got our work cut out for us. Now, over a 20-year period going through thousands of books, these references were discovered. Every number above 138 is perfectly divisible by 138. Every one of them. The number 138 in the Moravian mythos, we have a record from a Jewish legend that claims that some angels were cursed because they had warned the inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah, reset, destruction, of its impending destruction, and for this trespass, God cursed these angels to stay out of heaven for 138 years. Why is this incredible? It's not just because it's 138 years, but they're angels they're angels who visited during a destruction year for Sodom and Gomorrah. We have many ancient texts that say the angel of death appears in the sky, causes all kinds of destruction. Here, the angels of destruction stay out of heaven for 138 years. Well, I just showed you a whole human historical timeline of sun darkening, cataclysm, reset events going back 58, 59 centuries. And what was the common denominator? Whatever this weapon in the sky is, it stayed out of the sky for 138 years till it reappeared. Same thing this is saying. 414, Stephen Jones published charts and a book demonstrating that over 60 historical events were all 414 years apart, knowing nothing of the Phoenix or its chronology. Nothing. Dr. Stephen Jones doesn't know anything about the Phoenix phenomenon, but he nailed it. 552. The worship of Augustus Caesar by Alexander del Mar, a chronologist, in the year 1900. He wrote, the dominant measures of the divine year were the Brahmanical 658 common years and the Buddhic of 552 years. This was originally the Phoenix cycle. It's divisible by 138. 1242. The French Jewish prophet Nostradamus wrote in a private letter that 1242 years was the period before the flood from Adam to Noah, and he's exactly right. He's exactly right. Noah, according to the narrative, Noah lived 600 years. 600, the 600th year being the Great Flood, the year 1656. So Noah was alive in 1242. 1242 is a very specific number. It's divisible by 138. Here's the number in Genesis 1656. Over 900 years ago, Talmudic researcher Rashi wrote around 1090 AD wrote that the Great Flood occurred in 1656 and that 1656 years was a definite period of time between cataclysms. Pre-flood world in Genesis 1656 years, as noted by many chronologists. There are hundreds of books that all have the date 1656 for the Great Flood. 1656 is I don't know what's going on. Somebody doesn't want this damn video out. What a mood killer, man. That's twice now. Man, you know what? It might be my computer because I got a Zoom note taker app just popping up. Zoom's got no business on my computer. Wow. All right. So is my audio back? Cool. Share my screen. What a mood killer. I'm not gonna let it get me though. Not gonna let it get me. So we finished. We finished with 1656. So the number 2070. You have to understand, in the historical record, these numbers are mentioned by all these men who wrote all these texts. Some of them multiple times. The number 2070. Also, in ancient America, we have the Inca remembering a catastrophe that began their history. In 1624, historian Montesinos wrote that the Inca recalled a beginning period of 2070 years. That's 138 times 15. This is too arbitrary a duration. If not derived from a precise historical chronology, then they would have just said 2,000 years. It's as simple as that. Then we have 2208. In the year 1658, Archbishop James Ussher published his famous world chronology. The Ogygian flood was in the Old World calendar year of 2208 Annus Mundi. Absolutely precise. That's 1687 BC for the Ogygian deluge. 2208 is divisible by 138. This is confirmed independently in a different body of research and for different reasons by Dr. Stephen Jones, who also concluded that the sun darkened and major worldwide earthquakes recorded in the Book of Jasher happened in the year 2208 of the Book of Jasher chronology and the Assyrian eponyms. Can't make this shit up. 2484. Censorinus in the 3rd century AD wrote that Aristarchus of Samos reckoned a great year as 2484 years. That's 138 times 18. This 2484 year period was the time between two cataclysms. This Ionian mathematician and astronomer studied in the hallowed halls of the Alexandrian library and had access to materials now lost. 2484 years betrays a knowledge of a definite chronology that existed in his time. 2760. Hans Bellamy published a century ago that an analysis of Mayan reliefs and tradition held that this destruction from the sky was connected to a 2,760 year cycle. That's divisible by 138. 3,312. Dr. Barry Warmkessel concludes after reviewing historic records and modern scientific reports that Vulcan is a distant Jovian-sized dark star companion of our sun in a highly inclined orbit with a short cycle of 3,312 years. That's divisible by 138. And the last one, 4,968 years. Dr. Barry Warmkessel concludes that the highly inclined long cycle of Vulcan is on a 4,968 year orbit. His Vulcan is none other than Phoenix. So the value of this independent confirmation is due to the fact that not one of these sources are from anyone who had a knowledge of the Phoenix chronology. And they all bear that in mind. All the historical citations that I gave you that are all 138 on a 138 year timeline, no one who provided us these numbers had access to that data. They didn't have it until I published it and put it in this book. This is Chronicon. In Chronicon is the first appearance in the modern world of putting back together the Phoenix history. This is Chronicon. This is a book written entirely by me. 1,350 source materials. We have a lot to debunk. We have to go in and attack the integrity of every single ancient author that provided us this data. Authors that did not know each other and yet still provided dates that we can verify, and they're all 138 years apart. We have our work cut out for us, but I'm not saying it's impossible. So that was our second file. We're moving on up into another file now. Got to play devil's advocate, guys. We just got to play devil's advocate. So the issue with the Phoenix phenomenon is that the next event is 2040, but it's not the final one on the timeline. The final one on the timeline is the year 2178. This is also a part of the Phoenix phenomenon, and this is something that we're going to have to disentangle, because the Phoenix phenomenon in the archaic thesis is that we're on a timeline that's looping. It's a cycle. The loop year is 2178 when it goes back to the beginning. Unfortunately for the critic, they have something that they have to disprove first. And I'm not saying it's impossible, But when you look at it, it's mind-boggling. I'm going to show you. So we already have many videos on ancient calendrical systems that we go through. And this is, like I said, we can't rehash everything here. It's impossible. It's impossible. But anybody can get educated on the myriads of videos that talk about these things. So the Phoenix timeline's right here in the yellow. I'll blow that up. The Phoenix timeline's right here on the yellow. Phoenix, 138 years. 2178 is the final year. But 28 is the final year of the Phoenix cycle as well. And this is every 552 years. That's the Phoenix cycle. There are many of these ancient calendars that have these cataclysm dates at on the exact same years. But these aren't necessarily 2178, so we're not going to talk about them. I got way too much ground to cover. These are all, yeah. So the date 2178, as you can see on the bottom, is also derived in other species of arithmetic. But again, that's just, I need to show you what 2178 is. So the number 2178 is the only number in the numbers all the way up to 9999. We're in a matrix. We are in a mathematical structure. Up to the year 9999, these 4 digits, 2178 is the only number that's an immortal looping number. Over 95% of numbers in our reality collapse to zero when you measure them against their own reflection. 2178 minus 8712. Turning a mathematical equation into a palindrome. This is what happens. 2178 minus 8712, its reverse is 6534. But 6534 minus its reverse is 4356. Minus 4356 becomes 2178 again. This loop right here is absolutely incredible. It does not have the number 9. The number 9 is nowhere in this loop. It's the numbers 1 through 8 that make up this loop, but it's an immortal loop. And I have challenged many people. Other YouTubers tried to take the challenge. They've deleted their videos. Many people tried to disprove this thesis. None have done it. Everything in our perceivable reality is governed by numbers. 2178 is a real phenomenon. All other numbers collapse to zero. And they do it through a series of permutations. Here is an example. To discover the property of a number, we subtract it from its holographic reflection. Example, 3526 minus 6253 is 2727. But 2727 minus 7272 equals 4545. But 4545 minus its reflection of 5454 equals 909. 909 minus 909 equals 0. The more permutations it takes to collapse to 0, the more real the number is in our mathematical structuring. Numbers that collapse to 0 instantly are all like, they're not even there, they're just placeholders. But about 5% of numbers in our reality, they collapse into the 4 numbers that make up 2178, and then they don't go anywhere. They loop eternally. There's a reason why this is important. So, a chain of incidents, seemingly random, are actually moored to the same arithmetic. We perceive these events as random from our perspective, but our arithmetic is moored to something beyond our awareness. This includes calendars. Order is preserved in another dimension while chaos is perceived in ours. The numbers 1 through 50,000 were run through a program. Each number was subtracted from its mathematical reflection. Instantly, 4 fascinating discoveries were made. First discovery. Every number when measured this way collapsed to 0 or reduced to a sum divisible by 9 before collapsing to 0. Well, I need to put these discoveries. Second discovery. Only one number did not obey this holographic reflection operation. This unique, eternal, immortal number is 2178. Third discovery. A pattern exhibiting a sharp increase in collapses to 0 was found. This demonstrates that our reality construct is diminishing toward total collapse. This is the eternal loop. 2178 minus its reflection is 6534. 6534 minus its reflection becomes 2178. It is the only number in existence that does this. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about the numbers 1 through 9999. The reason I don't go 10,000 and higher anymore is because they're all reduplications of lower numbers. That's all they are. This is the Archaics paradox. I've got videos on this too. So, fourth discovery. In this sequence here, the number 9 is completely missing. The number 9 only appears in numbers that collapse to nothing, to 0. But in the immortal looping number, which moors our arithmetic, our mathematical reality is moored to something else. That mooring that involves a looping of the number 2178 and all its permutations. Not only are these numbers reflections of 2178, look, 2178, the reflection is 8712. Hold on. But the reverse, but this equals 6534, but the reflection is 4356. These four numbers right here that are not 2178 are in fact 2178, even though it doesn't facially look like it. The reason is, look at the chart. 2178 plus 2178 is 4356. Add another 2178 and it's 6534. Add another 2178 and it's 8712. 2178 is the only number that does not collapse to 0 in existence. 2178 is self-referencing, even that its own reflections equal 2178. Until somebody can disentangle this, disprove this, until somebody can, they have a long way before they can debunk the Phoenix phenomenon. This must be attacked. Why? Because 138 years after 2040, the year we're waiting on right now is 2178, the immortal looping number. Archaics paradox. Here it is right here. All those historical dates that I told you, that I showed you, that are all on a timeline of 138 years, here they are right here. And all these events in the historical record that are dated, this is what we need to debunk. We have to break the mathematical cohesiveness of this chart because it can't be real. We cannot logically look at this chart and look at history and all the source materials and actually believe, can we, that these source materials from thousands of records, thousands of data points all put together literally show us a timeline that looks like this? And all the names and legends and everything attached to this timeline, they're all 138 years apart, and they're all attached to concepts and ideas of sun darkening, moon turning red, carbonaceous fallout, red rain, red blood falling from the sky, earthquakes, and mass human vanishings, and volcanoes and tsunamis. And yet, many of the ancient historians called it the phoenix, the phene, the thing, the think in Druidism, Noph, which is everything in Egyptian is the reverse of Greek. You can see phene right there in Noph. It's the reverse. Typhon, which is the phene. Fenris, the doom shape, the angel of death, Neph. These are the names that were given to these events, these cataclysms that I read to you at the very beginning of this video, that are all 138 years apart and all attached to the year mathematically 2040, which is only going to be a third magnitude event, not like 2178, which is fourth and final magnitude. You can see the magnitudes right here. As a matter of fact, this chart's like years old. It needs to be upgraded. That chart's got a couple more circles to add to it, and I need to darken some of them because we have a lot more records. Before I darken a circle, I need to have a long data set from multiple different sources, all showing me that 1 year was just totally cataclysmic. When I have that, I make it a black circle. If I just have 1, 2, 3, or 4 records that tell me about this deal, I leave it as a white circle. Here it is right here. This is what I read to you. This is the mathematical framework. As you can see, there's 2178. Right. 2178. Here's 2040. Was this one we're waiting on? 2040, 1902, 1764. And there's 1626. I got to move faster, guys. Here is the exact same timeline, but from the perspective of the Phoenix cycle, which the Roman Catholic Church changed, the Boudic cycle, and they changed it for the Paschal cycle of 532 years, and it messed up 10 years in the timeline. So here's that cycle here. Again, you can see where a massive epic reset, total systemic reset caused the Dark Ages, and it started our modern calendar, AD, Anno Domini calendar. Here it is, 522 AD, Dark Ages begun. Here's 2040. We're waiting on it now, 14 years from now, and there's 2178, simulacrum collapse, which basically is like Monopoly. Go back to the beginning. This is where the world starts. In 2178, 3895 BC, people are naked. They've lost their infrastructure. It's the Adam and Eve reset. It's the beginning of the pre-flood world. There it is. That's the beginning. Because I drew in 2 dimensions a linear timeline, but you should be able to see this in 3 dimensions as a cyclical timeline, and it would all perfectly make sense. I wish I had a computer programmer that could show it in the exact same way I'm trying to present it, but somebody will manifest. But this is a linear projection in 2 dimensions. This is the same timeline, again, but this one has a legend. This is the Phoenix history. This is a legend. The legend shows world cataclysm sun darkenings, shows regional disaster sun darkenings. It shows Phoenix observed, vapor canopy begun, dated to the month of May, accurately predicted, new star appears. So looking at the legend, you can look at this chart. And again, guys, I'm behind. I am behind. This chart needs to be updated. When I redo this chart, it's going to have a lot more symbols on here because I have so much new data. This was drawn 3 or 4 years ago. But again, you can't miss it. 2040 is what we're waiting on. There's 2178. Right there. I got to keep on moving. I don't know what that is. All right. He's just an example of taking another number. 1584 collapses to 2178. Here's 1584 minus 4851. It's reflection. It's 3267. The reflection of 3267 is 7623, producing 4356. The reflection of 4356 is 6534, producing 2178. Only 5% of numbers, only 5% of our numbers are actually real. Only 5% of our reality is actually real. The other 95% collapses to zero upon scrutiny. Just examples of how to do it. 95% of all numbers 1 through 9999 collapse to zero, with remaining minority collapsing into 2178. 2178 is the only number that does not collapse, an immortal loop. This is a part of the Phoenix phenomenon. Yeah, I don't have time to go into all this. I got whole videos that describe all this stuff. I've had people try to debunk it, and then they quit, and then they take their videos down. Yeah, you already know. You guys already know. Here's the official Archaics world history chart. We need to move on. We need to move on. We need to move on. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I think that's about it right here. Let's see. All right, Phoenix cycle. I will show one more Phoenix. So the Phoenix cycle chart, here's another one here. Shows you, these are the big ones. These are the big ones, guys. The Adam and Eve reset 500. This is on the 1656 timeline and the 552-year timeline. There's the big one. Adam and Eve reset 3895 BC. There's the Great Flood of Noah 2239 BC. This began Mul Appen astronomy in Babylon. They started watching the moon because they were scared. They didn't want that to happen again. This is the origin of your lunar and solar zodiacs. Then a big one, 552 years later, was the Ogygian deluge. This is the Ogygian deluge is what caused all the confusion today. All the modern confusion with people studying megaliths and trying to date Göbekli Tepe and trying to date Catalhuyuk and trying to date Jericho and trying to date all. They're using uniformitarian principles, but they're not taking into consideration that our world has been destroyed about 5 times. It has been resurfaced about 5 times in the human historical record. But you won't know that because they're only pushing the people who are giving you the false timeline, the Younger Dryas timeline. This is why they finance Graham Hancock. This is why they allow him through nepotism to get his contract deals for millions of dollars from Netflix. This is why Randall Carlson is so promoted. They got AI. He's got AI marketing everywhere now, and it's all so bullshit. This is why they push Atlantis to the Ice Age. All the destruction in world history is in the Ice Age. We need to look for answers in the Ice Age, because in doing that, they omit the whole human historical record, which is nothing but total systemic resets, massive cataclysms. These are your dates. These are the big ones right here. And you can see 2040 is not on it. 2040 is not on the big one. 2178 is, though. It is. But this is all covered in other videos. We are now moving on to another file. I'm moving fast, guys. I got too much to cover. Too much. That's why they push the Graham Hancock. That's why they push the Gaia bullshit. That's why all this stuff is so popular. I'm on an island all by myself, guys. I got no allies. I got nobody pushing my stuff. No one. Some people try to criticize how does Graham Hancock say they like to niggle at it? They like to niggle at this and niggle. Yeah, they like to practice exclusions and try to take a win from one little piece, but no one has ever come forth and ever tried to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, because the amount of data they have to go through, people are just lazy. People are shitty today. They just want to make that easy buck and they want to do something, and it's not easy. No one wants to spend 6 months to a year just pouring through all my data in order to debunk it. So it's easier just to talk shit. So this is one of the reasons why I'm providing this video, is because by the end of this video, I'm literally giving my detractors everything they need. Here's what you need to do, man, to completely debunk the Phoenix phenomenon. I'm giving it to you. And I hadn't even showed you that yet. But I'm giving you exactly what you need. So, but in order to get to that point of the presentation, I first have to make sure you know what the Phoenix phenomenon is. I just gave it to you. A whole string of historical events, all verified in the historical record. Just a coincidence that they're all 138 years apart. It's just another totally separate series of coincidences, right? That all these ancient authors all just happen to know these numbers. Yeah, 138, 414, 552, 1242, 1656, 2208, 2070, 2760, 3312, 4968. Every single one of those numbers are found in the historical record connecting to cataclysms. Every single one of those numbers are divisible by 138. But that's totally separate from the actual list of events that were all separated by 138 years. You cannot confuse the two. They must be independently debunked. So we have the next. So here, this is also a part of the Phoenix phenomenon data, and it must be attacked as well. It cannot be ignored. If you're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, I'm giving you right now one of the things that you must go after. It is so mind-boggling. It is so disruptive to our idea of reality. And yet, I'm not the one that came up with it. Because you can go all the way back to the days of Frederick Norton Lewis, who suspected. You can go to the 1860s to a man who showed as much as he could with the tools he had available to him, named John Taylor. which attracted the attention of Robert Menzies, a sharp mind of acuity he wanted to study. And they realized these men were looking at the internal arrangements of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, and they were convinced it was a calendar going forward and backward in time. They just couldn't prove it, but they had many pieces of evidence, and this has attracted the attention of a giant in his field, an astronomer, the Astronomer Royal for Scotland, Charles Piazzi Smith. He went to Egypt with his wife and he measured the pyramid everywhere. And he even brought proofs to the table, but he couldn't prove the thesis. But he was convinced the Great Pyramid is a calendar. This attracted Sir Flinders Petrie, an Egyptologist. And with scientific instruments to the hundredths of an inch, he measured everything in the Great Pyramid to disprove these men. But somebody came after him, and he pretty much killed it. For 40 years, he pretty much killed it. Adam Rutherford came forward. But Adam Rutherford, being a real staunch Bible thumper, he contaminated some of his conclusions. He also had some wrong dates in history. These men didn't have an accurate chronology of the history of the world, so they had nothing to base the measurements off of. But conjecture, intuition. Intuition was screaming at these men that the Great Pyramid was more than a tomb. Intuition was telling these men, man, there's something up with this place. It's too precise. Sir Flinders Petrie proved it was too precise and gave us scientific measurements that we can verify today. And an engineer in the 1920s named David Davidson, his editor and co-writer was H. Aldersmith. These men produced a book unlike anything that's ever been published about the Great Pyramid. This book is The Great Pyramid, Our Divine Inheritance. It's amazing, but he only used the measurements of Sir Flinders Petrie, and he showed whole historical timelines. He's been the closest. He has been the closest. Following him was E. Raymond Capt and a few others. And then, in the early thousands, I began my journey using the scientific measurements of Sir Flinders Petrie and comparing them to Chronicon, the actual historically verified dates in world history for major events. I put them side by side. This cannot be ignored if you're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon. This is the chronotexture of Typhon. I'm going to show it to you right now. So we're not going, like I said, this is an overview. I have many videos that discuss these things. My Phoenix Phenomenon playlist covers all this. This is an overview, but the scientific measurements of the Great Pyramid's internal arrangements mirror the historical record over and over and over so perfectly and so precisely that we don't have to fudge a single number. And I have shown this on my presentations over and over. The Great Pyramid could never have been built by a primitive Egyptian society. It was precisely engineered. The tolerances are too high. The distances and measurements are too perfect. It's just incredible. It is absolutely incredible what we find. It's basically a three-dimensional holographic template of the history of the world's timelines, showing when a timeline began and when it was reset to begin a different timeline. Like I said, this isn't a proof. This video is not proof of this. My proof of this is in previous videos. But over and over and over, we have gone through all the measurements, shown scientifically, supported by Zawi Hawass in Egypt. These are the measurements he goes by. These are the ones published in the encyclopedias. These are the measurements published by Sir Flinders Petrie to a hundredth of an inch. And they provide us exact year dates in our modern Gregorian calendar, in the Annus Mundi calendar, in the Ab Urb Condita calendar of ancient Rome, in the Greek Olympiad calendar. Any calendar that I use, the Saka calendar of India, I can find in the Great Pyramid. And then I can show you when significant events in world history happened on those times. All the great numbers that I just told you, every single number that I have said in this presentation concerning the Phoenix phenomenon has been found in the Great Pyramid and in other dimensions of arithmetic. In pi and phi proportions, it's all been found. Anybody going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon has to separate it from the internal scientific measurements of the Great Pyramid in Egypt. This is another facet of the debunking that must be executed. I don't have time to go through all this. You have no idea how many files I got right here. I can't do that. So yeah, it's massive, massive. All right, let me find another one, man. Yeah, I need. Maybe I share this. Maybe I can share this screen. Maybe I can share this screen. Hold on. All right, so I'll pop myself out of my drive. Hold on, I'm going back in. Trying to figure out how I can share all the screen. Maybe I can. Maybe I can. All right. So I'm breezing through this one too. I have to. I have to. Like I said, we got way too much. So all the Phoenix numbers are found in the dimensions of the Great Pyramid. It's 138 feet. This right here is 230 feet, which in inches is a Phoenix number. 379.55 feet is in inches is a Phoenix number. Over and over, we have this self-referencing over and over throughout the pyramid. We have hundreds of these charts. We have horizontal, we have sloping, apophthegm distances, apophthegm measurements, sloping measurements. We have horizontal and vertical measurements, and they're all self-referencing, meaning the Great Pyramid references itself, not just in whole numbers like I'm showing you on these charts, but I even can show it that it self-references its own measurements in proportions of both pi and phi. And those proportions are in units of 138. This too must be attacked. All right, let's go share screen again. Like I said, all this is presented in previous videos. This right here is I'm showing people. These are the actual scientific measurements of the Great Pyramid. These are all different measurements that have been verified. These are Sir Flinders Petrie's measurements from all different architectural features. These are the only measurements I go by at all. And they produce Phoenix numbers everywhere. Every number you see in a box is a number divisible by 138. Every number you see. Every boxed number is a number divisible by 138. On this chart, every number you see in a box right here, every number in a box, measurements in the Great Pyramid are all divisible by 138 over and over. This is a subterranean chamber. This is just measurements. I'm not showing Phoenix numbers in this. I'm showing actual scientific measurements. This is actual scientific measurements. This is actual scientific measurements. These are all verticals. Every red number right here, by adding two different measurements in the Great Pyramid that are connected, you get a Phoenix number. All these red numbers are Phoenix numbers. Every single thing done. Every boxed measurement is divisible by 138 on this chart. So in attacking, there's the 1656 of the pre-flood world, which is the baseline foundation of the Great Pyramid to the foundation of the King's Chamber, 1656 inches. Remember what I told you in my previous Great Pyramid, my previous Great Pyramid deals. Whoever built the Great Pyramid understood feet, inches, and megalithic yards. Yeah, do not think that these are modern units of measurement. They are not. They are not. All these circles you see right here, these are also all Phoenix measurements. By adding different architectural features together, it produces a Phoenix number. Every single one of these charts. All this has to be disproven. Crap load, guys. There's several videos that cover all this. These are actual measurements too. All right, so let's. Cool. I can move on now. I can move on. I can move on from that. Going to another chart. How am I doing on time? I'm doing pretty good on time. I'm doing pretty good on time. Okay. Here's another deal that we have to look into. So, first I'm going to show this over chart right here. Okay. So I know you guys can't really see this very well. Okay. All these files, every single one of these files right here contain the historical citations, books, ancient authors, and data sets concerning biblical chronology. This one here. Look at that. Okay, so I'm gonna have to get out of here in order to share this. All right, cool. So I gotta cut that out. It's always something. StreamYard makes me go in and out of windows in order to share them with you. It's so weird. So, like I said, we don't have time to go into all this, but we already have all the data sets and they must be assaulted. This must be taken apart for a reason. I am not a Christian. I'm not a creationist. But whoever put together the numbers in the Old Testament knew the 138-year patterning of the Phoenix phenomenon. And this is what I show. Independent researchers, independent chronologists, all kinds of historical texts and records, religious and secular, show this chronology, and I've documented it. I've documented every book and what they said and what date they provided, and it gives us a perfect year one, 3895 BC, which means the Great Flood 1656 years later was 2239 BC. Every single old book. Some of these books go to the 1700s. Some of them are modern researchers. Some of them are over 1,000 years, commentators over 1,000 years ago is listed here. The dates, the actual dates they give us for different historical events proves to us that we are in the year 2026 Anno Domini right now. We're not missing any years. Just like I showed on X the other day, I did a long, lengthy post on all the ancient monuments that show inscriptions that can be verified using stellarium, like computer software that shows where, because many ancient monuments were dated by the star configurations that were there, and it shows they're absolutely perfect. They were dated perfectly. We can only go back like 25 centuries with that stuff. But I used all the examples. I used the unbroken Mayan long count, the actual Mayan steles that were published for over 800 years, and the dates were continuous. It shows Flamenco's wrong. Flamenco's wrong. Nobody added centuries. Nobody took centuries away. No, they scrubbed history. In the Americas, the Maya have the whole system down. We have the Frankish Annals. We have the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles. We have the very few people know until I released the video about the Chronicles of Magdeb of Germany. Those chronicles are fantastic. They go back 25 centuries. But remember my video, the Merry Merry Month of May, where I showed all these disasters and cataclysms that are recorded in the month of May? So this is the I think it's the final thing that absolutely has to be done, because the 138-year Phoenix timeline doesn't have anything to do with the biblical timeline, does it? Because it's so weird that the 138-year timeline actually has 3895 BC on it and 2239 BC, and so does the biblical timeline. How did that happen? because none of the authors that put the going back over 1,000 years that put the Old Testament timeline together knew anything about the Phoenix timeline. They're totally independent data sets, independent source materials, independent authors written in different periods of history. And yet they have the same year as year one. How did that happen? So the biblical chronology must be assaulted, it must be attacked, just like the Phoenix timeline has to be attacked. If we're going to thoroughly debunk something, we just like a truth can be seen from multiple different vantage points, then if it's false, then from multiple different vantage points, we'll be able to show that. Now go back to my deal here. So we still have a few other things. I'm just educating my detractors. Here's something else that you need to pay attention to. This is we cannot ignore this. So another thing that must be attacked is that it is the claim here in Archaics, as the result of extensive data sets, that many unusual sky phenomena have occurred in human history that have been well documented, but they're not on the 138-year timeline. And yet in Archaics, they're still claimed as Phoenix phenomenon dates. Now, none of those, at the beginning of this video, I only read to you the ones that we have documented and a lot of data for the 138-year patterning. But the ones I'm showing you, let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if my speaker's back on. I figured out what it is. I just saw it appear on my screen. Can you hear me? Yes or no? All right, good. Yeah, that's aggravating as hell, but I'm not gonna let it get me down, guys. I got too much to go through. Too much to go through. Ain't no stopping me in this video. So there it is. Look, how is it possible? How can Jason claim that events that are not on the 138-year timeline are still a part of the apparatus of the Phoenix phenomenon? How is it possible that all of these documented events from old chronologies, old books, old traditions and records that I'm showing you right now, strange phenomena happening in our world? How is it possible that this is also Phoenix related events, but they're not on the 138-year pattern? I'm going to show you how it's possible. I'm I'm gonna go through them fast because we still have a lot of ground to cover. But I'm telling you, everything you see on the screen, recorded in European and world history, is a part of the Phoenix phenomenon. And you'll see it too in a minute. All these amazing, amazing events, very strange events. You've seen a lot of these pictures in the intro. Everything you're seeing is a part of the Phoenix phenomenon. But the ones you're seeing now are not on the 138-year patterning. How can two separate things, how can two totally different phenomena be the same? Some of you already know. It's a big file. All these recorded historical events. You guys didn't know I had all these, did you? Look at all that. All these dates. This isn't arbitrary. This isn't an arbitrary file. I'm going to show them to you again in chart form. (1752). 1752. That's a famous one. That's Lisbon, Portugal, right there. 1755. 60,000 people washed out to sea. This right here is 1763, and it perfectly describes the Phoenix phenomenon. This is a text from 1763, published in 1764. This is a Phoenix year about what appeared in the sky. That's all of it right there. Every bit of this. All right, cool. We went through the whole file. So let's open this back up. Go back to my mainframe. Y'all, I don't make claims lightly, guys. If I tell you that every single one of those events from the historical record are also connected to the year 2040 and 2178, you can take it to the bank. You can take it to the bank. Because I'm not gonna eat crow. I'm not gonna have somebody come behind me and say, "Oh man, you're wrong about all this now." Not after I spent my lifetime researching it. So now that I made the claim and I showed you the pictures, now let me prove it to you. Other dimensions of arithmetic. Let's see. Oh, this is going to get good. But you need to go to the original video to see all this. You have to go to the original video to see all this because we're going to breeze through this because we got way too much to cover. My detractors need a full arsenal against the Phoenix phenomenon. I need to educate them on everything they need to know in order to attack this right. So I got to cover this all in 3 hours. All right. So all those events that I just showed you, all those events I showed you, they're connected to the Phoenix phenomenon simply because even though they're not on the 138 year sequencing, they're all connected to 2040 and to 2178 in other dimensions of arithmetic. When you take a number like the number 414, 414 years, when you take like the number 414 and you look at it in a proportion of phi, the golden proportion, which is 1.618, it becomes the number 670. So a 414-year timeline is the same as a 670-year timeline. One is in whole numbers, and the other one is in the golden proportion. It's phi. This is why Nostradamus, talking about the phoenix, which is represented by the number 414, said many will die before the phoenix dies. Until the year 670, his dwelling shall endure. His dwelling is the sky. What happens when the sky doesn't endure? It falls. Nostradamus knew Nostradamus is the one that gave us our 1,242 years between Adam and Noah. He's absolutely right. Maybe it's just a coincidence that 1242 years is 414 times 3. In other dimensions of arithmetic, every single one of those events I just showed you starts fulfilling patterns. Look at this. Look at this. Tell me they're not Phoenix related. These are the events I just showed you. Look at the chart. Look how it grows. Look at the yellow boxes. They're all Phoenix numbers connecting all these historical events. Keep following the chart because it's going to lead us right to 2040. Look at all this. You can't make this shit up, guys. But anybody who's going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon must do so from every single point that's been presented in Archaics. Look at this. These are the events I just showed you. Look at this. Remember, we live in a mathematical construct. 1699 event right here, all kinds of sky fallout, all kinds of weird shit happening. It's 552 years after 1147, which is way over here. It's more sky fallout and weird shit. But 552 divided by phi, which is 1.618, is 341.1. So 552 years in another dimension of arithmetic is 341 years. 341 years after 1699 is 2040. If you think that this is just a coincidence, then we need to look at other ones because it's got to be verified by multiplicity. If it can only be done once, twice, or 3 times, then it could be a coincidence. Every date represents events that happened 138 years apart, but not one of these is on the 138-year Phoenix timeline leading to 2040. But on a different timeline, these are all 138 years apart. How did that happen? These dates, all a part of 138-year patterns of destruction and sky phenomena, are linked to more dates through Phoenix numbers seen in other dimensions of arithmetic. The red symbols represent Phoenix year timelines on the 138 years. So you see, the red, these are the actual Phoenix years, the red dots. Not one of these events is on an actual Phoenix year, but these are all in a matrix of timelines that are all in multiples of 138 years apart from each other. Over and over again. You can't, it's impossible to make this shit up. It's crazy. 1,000, here it is, 552, which is 138 times 4, times phi, the golden proportion, is 893. So 893 years after 1009 AD, which started this, which is one of those weird sky fallout dates, is 1902. Again, a date when there was weird sky fallout. The patterning is just too perfect. It's over and over and over. Every one of these dates, 1009 AD, 1456 AD, and 1903 AD, all had sky fallout. Unusual, weird sky fallout. There's David Davidson's date for the change of the calendar, 2046, according to the Great Pyramid. You guys have seen that before. There's that 341 years again, which we saw earlier. 2105. 2105 is the date of Nostradamus for the beginning of the end. But it's also the 5,999th year of the Anno Mundi timeline. Again, every one of these white boxes represents one of those weird disasters that I showed you a minute ago. Every single one of them. That's what these are. You're going to see them again here in a minute. Here's holoflective sequencing. In the historical record, over and over and over, events could have been predicted by looking at the reverse of numbers that were attached to similar events in the past. This is a procedure I've used in Chronicon over and over and over. It has predictive value. All Phoenix numbers. Look at that. 1212 AD is a Phoenix year. It's an actual Phoenix year. There's the red circle. This is when Tartaria began. This is when 306,000 Norwegians were washed out to sea. This is when all kinds of weird shit happened. Human depopulations, the Children's Crusade, children disappeared all over Europe, earthquakes, volcanoes. 1212 was a terrible year. 315 years later is 1527, which is one of those dates I gave you that shows the weird sky fallout. 1527. 315 years, its holographic reflection is 513. That's the bigger circle. So the 315 years from 1212 to 1527 is still in the hologram of our reality, the same distance as the 513 years that it produces, which is 1527 to 2040 AD. Do not think that these charts are the only times I've ever shown these unusual patterns. They're all throughout my whole channel. 1902 again, connected by Phoenix numbers. 2045, 1902, 1561. That's that big black spear and black globes in the sky date. 1561. I think it was Nuremberg. Anyway, all these dates related to each other are in Phoenix proportions. Over and over and over, they're in Phoenix proportions. That's what I'm showing you here. The reason that's important is about to be revealed. All these white boxes represent those sky fallout dates that I showed you. You really need to watch this whole video because it's like 4 hours long, and I go into detail about each one of these charts and what it represents in the historical timeline. There's another one connected to 2040. There's 2045 and 2046. There's 2041. $2045. That's Nemesis X. Here they all are. Here are all those pictures I showed you earlier. All of these, which are not on the 138-year Phoenix timeline, are 138 years apart from each other, though. Or 276, or 414, or 690, 552, or 1,200 and 1,242, 1656 years apart. They're always divisible by 138. And if they're not, they are in pi and phi proportions. When they're all matrixed together, they reveal the years 2040, 2041, 2045, 2105, and 2106. We know this is the year 6000. This is the year 6000 Anno Mundi. It is the 60th year of the visitation of Nemesis X in the apocalypse. But those are all subjects of totally different data sets. But anyway, these 39 charts for single video presentation, shocking new proof of 138-year Phoenix timeline. This needs to be disproven as well. It cannot be natural. Therefore, it can't be correct, right? It can't be natural that all these events that are not on the 138-year timeline still described in the historical record as Phoenix fallout type events, and yet they are connected to each other in proportions of 138 in years and in pi and phi proportions and in holoflective sequences. How is that possible? So the Phoenix phenomenon entails all of this. The only thing that makes sense to me is that we're in some type of mathematical construct. I don't know what makes sense to you. I'm just presenting the data. It's just here. So let's move on. Let us move on. So this is a bifurcated presentation. We're still on part 1. Part 2 is the end. It's the end. This is the last file of part 1. Right here. So I'm going to remove that. Stop screen. Share my screen. Okay. So, as we'll see here in a minute, the source materials for the Phoenix phenomenon thesis are so many, but they're relatively unknown to the modern world. Who goes around reading books from the 1700s and 1800s? Who? Who would have found all of this? Who in modern times would have had time to put all this together? If you're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, you've got to go to the core source materials. You're going to. You're not debunking Jason of Archaics. You are debunking source materials that would make a thesis belonging to Jason of no value. So this one book is a compilation of over 600 source materials. This book was published in 1753. Just this book alone, going through it, every single one of these epic disasters, these cataclysms that's recorded. Do you see what that says? Do you see what that says? Don't think I'm exaggerating. Let's go to the next one. Do you see what that says? Every time something weird falls out, not every time, but a lot of times when weird shit falls out the sky, or the times when the sun goes dark for long periods of time, it's not an eclipse. What month is it? What month is it when this happens? That can't be natural. It can't be natural. Why is it the month of May that throughout the human historical record, we got the weirdest traditions, legends, fairy tales, nursery rhymes, all about the month of May? We got all kinds of practices and pole dances. And what is it about this month? Why in ancient cultures did women refuse to marry in the month of May? Why in the month of May in ancient cultures, if people died in the month of May, they were buried with a red shroud? Why? What is it about the month of May that Bronze Age cultures would sacrifice one of their own only to make sure that the sun would safely make it across the sky? Human sacrifice. Maypole rituals. Why? Burn the wicker men of the Druids, the burning men. Why? What is it about this month? Let's go to another one. Every single one of these citations. How is this? How has this been missed for centuries? How is it that so many ancient civilizations like the Inca had the month of May as the beginning of their year? So many ancient texts talk about great disasters in the month of May. Before Halloween and the Day of the Dead was even recognized as a time of the dead, that that honor belonged to mid-May. Mid-May was when the veil between worlds was at its thinnest. This isn't me making it up. This comes from the treasures of old books. That's where all this comes from. I know somewhere on this page, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't. Somewhere on this is about the month of May. Oh, this is citing the Chronicles of Marburg. Magdeb. I always forget the name of that. Magdeb. This is a Nemesis X citation. No, there it is. In May. In May fell. In May fell. Damn it. In May fell great hail and stones as large as tempests, inundations of rivers, and a loss of much people, earthquakes and destructive thunder and light. Man, the world fell apart in the month of May. The sun was eclipsed in the calends of May. Calabria, terrible earthquake. Over and over, it's May. It's always May. Terrible earthquake, May. We don't have time to dwell on this. You can see right here, month of May. Whole file's about the month of May. Terrible, terrible month of May. Yeah, man. Can't make this shit up. Yeah, you can't make this shit up. But that's just the Chronicles of Magdeb. Yeah, we have way more. And here's Chronicon right here. Just going through some of the worst disasters in recorded human history. Here's May 27th, 1903. Maypole rituals were nothing but Northern European memories of the phoenix palm in the Mediterranean. Let's see. Conducted a disaster in the month of May. There it is right there. Let's see. British Museum. Look at ancient Babylonian tablet. If on the first day of the month of May, the sun looks sprinkled with blood and the light is cool, the king will die and there will be mourning in the country. Of course it was the month of May. What other month would you have thought it was going to be? Of course it was going to say May. Astronomer Hoffman sees a great black object cover the sun in the month of May. There it is right there. In the month of May. Damn it. Can't miss it. Says right there, big as you. Month of May is when the sun darkened in 1764. Month of May. Here's Nostradamus. Century 6, Quatrain 88. A great kingdom will remain desolate near the Ebro. They will be gathered in assemblies. The Pyrenean mountains will console him when in May there will be earth tremors. I show in my own book, Nostradamus and the Planets of Apocalypse, the date index of Mario reading has this at 2040 AD. Century 10, Quatrain 67, a very great troubling in the month of May. Saturn in Capricorn, Jupiter and Mercury in Taurus, Venus also in Cancer, Mars in Virgo, then hail will fall greater than an egg. Remember, the heavens are going to be changed at this time. Astrology is not really going to be able to tell you anything definitive in this period of time. Vapor Canopy's coming back. Nemesis X is on the 6 years behind this, but will already be feeling its effects. The magnetic north, 14 years from now, will have wandered so far. We may be tilting. This whole sky may be tilting very bad by that period. Let's see. I know it's got a reference to the month of May in here somewhere. Oh, yeah, 1902, Mount Pelée blew up on Martinique, killed 30,000 people in the month of May. 1980, the long dormant volcano, Mount St. Helens in 1980, blew up in the month of May. Imagine that. Imagine that. And get this. A wise guy took some lava that was made in the month of May at Mount St. Helens, and he gave it to some uniformitarian scientists, and they took it to a lab and they dated it for him using their radiometric dating, and then turned around and gave it back to him with a report showing him that it was 200 million years old. Yeah, uniformitarian dumbasses. In the month of May, a substance like blood rained upon Messina, Calabria. So many. Fiery globes across the sky over Swabia, preceded by an earthquake in May. Anyway, there's just a bunch of them. Look, I'm going through them. I'm not going to read them all. So many things. Some of the worst disasters in history are right here in the month of May. Sir Norman Lockyer in 1901 and 1902 published that he believes that the astronomical significance of Stonehenge itself concern the month of May. Imagine that. Worst earthquakes in world history right here, month of May. Can't make this shit up. I sure didn't. Well, that concludes part one. Part two is going to go a lot faster. That concludes part one. So, part one are all independent data sets. In order to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, you have got to attack the historical citations, the historical sources. That's the only way, is to take it apart chronologically. If you can't take it apart chronologically, there's no way to attack this phenomenon. So let's see what that looks like. Let's see what that looks like. Thank you for posting that, Mr. C. Ancient Lemuria. Thank you for posting, Pamela. We do still have some tickets too for the meetup. Thank you, Third Space. What's Lacey talking about? Who's Sayer? Loser. Ace Ventura. I got some characters from moderators. I got some characters in here. All right. So we're going to put this here. All right. So the reason, so it's paramount. It's paramount that the citations must be attacked. Even if a well-funded intelligence agency wanted to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, for whatever reason, it is imperative that the actual historical citations that are found in Archaics that I cite go to the original sources and make sure they say what I claim they say. One. Two, make sure they're dated to where I claim they dated them. Because remember, I tell you all the time, guys, I didn't date any of this shit. All I did was put it together. And this is what I found. But when you have a mathematical substrate of history that is this perfect, on which everything else is built on, all these calendars going forward and backward in time, timelines, the rise and wow. I do not know what's going on. Do not know what's going on. Wow. I've never had a video interrupted like this many times. It's happened in the past where I had a video interrupted a couple times. Not like this. Wow. Right when I get in my role, man. I probably get some half-wit subcontracting, a hacker subcontracting with the CIA in his mama's basement, wearing underoos and a tank top, sitting at a computer, hitting that button right when he thinks I'm getting in my groove. All right. Get back into this again. All right, that's good. So weird. So weird. All right, now. So this substrate of reality right here, for which everything else, thank you, Tim Duffy, that everything else is built upon, which we call the historical record. It's too perfect. Look at it. It's too perfect. The data sets attached to 2239 BC, it's going to take a heroic effort to dismantle that dating for the Great Flood, as I've shown. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you have to do that if you're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon material. You have to go through the Ogeigian material, 7 videos on YouTube, a whole bunch of stuff in my published books just about this date, which is universally ignored across every platform by every truther out there claiming they understand ancient history. No one talks about this event. And it's the reason why remember, this is the carbon 14 threshold according to scientists. They say they can get to 1600 and then something weird happens. Everything beyond 1600, their shit just jumps wild. There's a reason for that. Massive destruction in 1687. 1135 BC, Atlantis and the Sea People's Federation done. 583 BC. These charts have to be dealt with. What I read to you at the beginning of this video, all those historical events concerning sun darkenings and sky fallout are all on a 138-year timeline, and they produce these charts. And these charts cannot be historically possible. It's too mathematically perfect. These charts are all exhibited. There is no way, guys, that I can possibly dwell on these charts. I just can't. I have way too much material yet to get through. But you've seen them in other presentations. These are Phoenix charts. All these are Phoenix charts. This is when Star Trek gave us the business. They literally told us the truth. All kinds of badass Phoenix chart. Here's a Phoenix Enoch chart. Yeah, but what I'm saying is all those events make these patterns. They make these patterns in the historical record. It's so easy to chart. What I read to you at the beginning of this video, all those Phoenix events, that's what these red circles are. Damn it, man. That's what these red circles are right here. All these red circles, this is the Phoenix timeline right here. That's the Phoenix timeline. The black circles underneath it is Nemesis X. The yellow boxes underneath that is the Bactans of the Mayan long count. The 600-year periods right here are the Anunnaki Ner periods of 216,000 days, which provide the basis for all Sumerian, Babylonian, and Vedic calendars. Right here. 2 Ner is 432,000 days. The red boxes underneath that are the cursed earth period of 414 years of Dr. Stephen Jones. These are 138 years each. That's the cursed earth periods right there. Yep, these yellow boxes underneath, every single one of these little boxes right here are 138 years of human history. Every single one of these boxes. And all these down here are descriptive of what you're seeing up here. This is the Archaics chronology. It's all supported by data sets. It's all supported by a tremendous amount of information. This is an old Phoenix chart, but it's still true today. Still true today. All this is Phoenix. The patterning is too perfect. So, in order to nullify every single chart, in order to do away with all that pesky Jason Archaics bullshit, you've got to go to the original sources and you've got to see if those things really say what I'm claiming they say. You have to get a calculator out and see if all the dates are truly 138 years apart. You have to see what those dates are in those old sources for the very events that are dated in Chronicon. You have to make sure I didn't fib. I didn't lie. All these charts are a part of all this chart here is a direct result of the Phoenix. These are Phoenix phenomenon dates right here. These 2 black boxes right here. This is the Dark Ages. It's pre-flood world right here. This is another Phoenix chart. It just shows different stuff. It's got its own legend. It's color-coded Phoenix chart. Yeah, man. So much stuff. I don't go through all that file. I've already popped out of my drive again. Let me pop back in there. All right, let's see. Back to Devil's Advocate file. Okay, that's where I'm at. This is where I'm at. All right. So, you know what? The best way to do this is share my screen. All right. I gotta talk out loud for all this. All right, got it. So this is something you're just gonna have to do. If you're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, then you need to go through all the old books for which I've got a lot of this data. Now there's 1,350 independent nonfiction source materials. Some of these are research reports. Most of them are books. Some of them are reference books. But we have to go through them. Like you'll have to go through this. All the citations in 1871 cyclical flood theory. But that's just one. That's just one. Gonna have to go through this, a universal history, published in 1751. You have to go through that. It's a massive amount of information on these pages. See if I can blow. Oh, I can blow it up a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have to go through. You're gonna have to go through all these old historical about the Typhon, the Typhonians, human sacrifice to save the sun. How the one sacrificed had red hair to represent the Typhon. Typhon being the phoenix. You got to go through these old books, and you have to figure out how to reinterpret what ancient authors were conveying to us. You need to present a different scenario other than the Phoenix phenomenon in order to get modern readers to agree that, okay, well, maybe Jason embellished. Maybe these texts don't say quite like that, and it can be interpreted this way. This is the only way you'll ever be able to attack the Phoenix phenomenon thesis, because from a mathematical vantage point, you have no ground because the arithmetic is attached to ancient sources, text citations. So the only way to topple the thesis is to attack the source materials. There's no other way. There's no other way. You got a lot of reading to do. Here's another one. Here's another one. This book was published in 1877. 1877. These are all chronological tables dating all kinds of events in world history. And this data is really interesting. I did a video on it. There's a video just for this book. And it produces this one. I'm going to show it right now. I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to share this because all that one book produces this chart. Here's the chart produced from that book. So all this to the left is not produced by the book. All this to the left is history before the great Mul-Appen destruction, known as the day the sky fell, the great flood of Noah, the Typhon flood. It's called Mul-Appen. Now, here's the Great Deluge, 2239 BC. This line right here, this book represents everything after this line, and it shows here's the period of Sumerian logographic cuneiform, Akkadian, Babylonian, Assyrian, hieroglyphic, Rongo. They all fit a post 2239 period. Here's the two arrows. That's what this book shows from 1877. Because the book is about the oldest written records, when we have them, and when were they composed. So that's what that book is about. So here's the chart produced from that. It shows this. Then we know the Ogygian deluge was 1687 BC, which is really interesting because according to this book, total collapse of literacy is right here. But in the Phoenix data, we know, well, that's 1687 BC, the Ogygian deluge. We already know it was a 25-year darkness followed by a starvation, plague, and a 300-year dark age. That's in the historical record, and that's in the Phoenix phenomenon as well, called the Ogygian reset, 1687 BC, on the 138-year patterning of the Phoenix chronology. And this book even confirms that during this period, no ancient texts were written. Look at that. None. Big old blank. Then look, we had some ancient text. The Phoenicians were producing and the Egyptians were producing some text right here. Then we have the great Phoenix destruction in the reign of Pharaoh Seknakti, 1135 BC, right here. Atlantis is destroyed. Sea peoples are never seen again, right here. What happens again? A 300-year dark age. This is the historical record is we have proof of this 300-year dark age. It's not even questioned by anybody. 300-year dark age. It's called the Great Mediterranean Dark Age. But according to this book, no historical text surfaced during this period. It was dark. That's the value of looking at these old books. You can draw charts with the information they convey, and it confirms the Phoenix thesis. Now look at all these books appearing. Coming out that 300-year dark age, here's 776 BC. The Olympiad calendar begins. The world begins to wake up. And look what happens. Books, text, all kinds of books. This is the Greco-Roman period. Here it is. All these books. Then a solid bar during the Roman period, because now hundreds of thousands. This is the Alexandrian library right here. How do we know? Because this is BC AD right there. That one book showed all this. All right, let me get back out of there. So in order to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon thesis, you've got to go to the core original materials. You don't have a choice because you can't debunk the arithmetic. There is no way that you could ever take a number and multiply or divide it by pi or phi or add or subtract whole numbers of 138 and get any of the numbers that I didn't already produce. You're not. Arithmetic is fixed. It's really the only language that matters. So if you're going to debunk the thesis, you've got to break the math. If you're going to break the math, you must attack the source materials and make sure they don't say what I say they say. That's the only way you're ever going to attack the thesis. That's it. I gave you the business. It's the only way you'll ever be able to do it. So many old books you got to go through. Here's another one. Here's another one. Oh, I need to share my screen, don't I? If you can't break the math, you can't do it. Here's another old book. Oh, here's David Davidson. Oh man, he had all kinds of things to say about Phoenix, about the Phoenix and Phoenix chronology and stuff. Engineer David Davidson, one of my heroes. Yeah, man. He even wrote about Phoenix cycles, called them Phoenix cycles. Again, Hans Bellamy. You must go through Hans Bellamy. He's got so much stuff on Phoenix phenomenon in his books. He wrote these 120 years ago. You got to go through Hans Bellamy. History of Antiquity. Here's another book from the 1870s. It's another fascinating book. Again, absolutely packed with data about Phoenix and Typhon, giving us exact dates, giving us exact times of years, festivals, temple activities, all kinds of things related to the Phoenix. You've got to go to the original source materials and attack those. You have to. You got your work cut. You want to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon. I am inviting you to do it, but you have got to go to the original sources, because if you try to debunk the math, you're going to look like an idiot. Here's another book, Law of 1700. This book's from the 1700s as well. Absolutely packed with calendrical information that is fascinating. Fascinating information on timekeeping systems and calendars. This is a book from the 1970s, but it covers ancient texts, and it's amazing what it has on Phoenix, underground facilities, Phoenix fallout, different traditions and myths and legends that all confirm the Phoenix thesis. It's all here. Beautiful. It's called Lost Survivors of the Deluge. These are just a few of the books, guys. I'm just giving you a few examples, like this one here. You see where it says Myth of the Phoenix right there? That's the title page. This book here is called Myth of the Phoenix. In Myth of the Phoenix, we've got references to the phoenix raining cinnamon on the ancient world. Cinnamon's red dust. We got Phoenix mentioned in ancient Mycenaean texts right here. Citations from Mycenaean texts. Phoenix appearances in the old world. You have to go through and debunk all this. Did you think Jason of Archaics made up the Phoenix? Do you think I made up the fact that the ancients feared the Phoenix? Do you think I made up the fact that Phoenix cycles were known in the ancient world? If all of these were already known in old books, then it was just a matter of figuring out what the cycle was, which is what I did. I didn't make anything up. But if you want to debunk the Phoenix thesis, you've got to go to these old books that were written and these ancient authors that were talking about the Phoenix, and you must present a scenario. You must reinterpret everything they told us from the ancient world. And in statuary, reliefs, architecture, where the Phoenix is found, in woodcuts, in old prints, in legends, all these things that we have found. Legend, I'm talking about legends as in books. What the Phoenix meant to all these time periods and deal. You can't attack a thesis without completely understanding the foundations upon which that thesis lies. I've told my community from the very beginning, that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I even had Jay Anderson. Yeah, he's such a sissy, I swear. Jay Anderson on X go off on me because I corrected him about something. I just said, "Hey man, you still pushing that 9,600 BC Atlantis bullshit, man?" So he actually responded to me, which is shocking because he had me blocked. And he responded, and instead of answering my question, sissified response. Why do you refer yourself to in the third person? I guess he was trying to belittle me or I don't know, man, take the moral high ground. I don't know what his intention was, but everything I post on X, a lot of people review it and see it. But he said, "Why do you refer?" He didn't answer my question. He said, "Why do you refer to yourself in the third question?" And I don't, but I did in my comment there. But it was shit. I said, "In Archaics, we have discovered." So I always give credit where it's due. Archaics was built on the shoulders of giants. That's what I told Jay Anderson. I said, I can't claim to have invented any of this. All I did was put it together, but I would have never been able to put it together if better researchers and better writers than I, in times before I was born, hadn't already done the work. That's what I explained to Jay Anderson. He didn't respond. I didn't expect him to either. I'm really unimpressed with that dude. But anyway, yeah. When I say, well, I'm always saying we, because this is a group effort, 100%. I'm not the only one that, having read and put all this together, I didn't invent it. I got it from somewhere. That's why you guys know it's one of my pet peeves, man. When these content creators and these so-called truthers freely borrow from sources. I know what the original sources say, man. They freely borrow and act like it's their research. It's not. It's not. Should be pissing me off. But, that's me. I pick and choose my battles. So yeah, here's a book called Myth of the Phoenix. You got to go through it. You got to figure out why. Why were they writing books about the Phoenix? But so much data in here. Here's Phoenix palms, Phoenix periods. Man, it's crazy. Look at all these references. All these references in old books to Phoenix periods. You got to go through all that, and you have to reinterpret that and provide an interpretation and support it with other relative and tangential facts that are going to be persuasive. If you're going to undermine the Phoenix thesis, you have got to go back to its foundations. You have to. No choice. It's the only way to do it. Yeah, that's a good book there. Yeah, man. So when it comes to the Phoenix data, look, these are just title pages, guys. These are just title pages of amazing books for which I got a lot of the Phoenix data out of. Let me show you real quick. I'll burn through them real fast. How do I get? Oh, so there's got to be an easier way to share shit. It's so crazy. Yeah, man. A bunch of old books. Just a bunch of old books, guys. Oh, those were twice. Ignatius Donnelly, 1883. This one's from 1700s as well. 1700s, 1901 or 1900. This is Busenbark. It's really good too. It's like almost 70, 80 years old. Myth of the Phoenix. Engineer David Davidson. I just showed you that one. Encyclopedia Britannica's got some good stuff. The old ones, I got Britannicas from the 1800s. Here's Encyclopedia Britannica from 1902. It's got some good stuff in it. Robert Graves, Undisputed Authority, Greek Antiquities. Oh, this guy here, Higgins, is awesome. I got so much Phoenix data out of his stuff. What is it? And I never can say that. Anacalypsis. Jewish Encyclopedia has Phoenix stuff in it. 1952, Harold T. Wilkins. 1947, Harold T. Wilkins. I've talked about him a lot. Hans Bellamy again. Robert Graves, Ancient Symbol Worship, 1875. This is Sun Lore of All Ages, 1800s. Lost Language, Harold Bailey, that's 1800s. Nag Hammadi Scriptures got a little bit of Phoenix, not much. Lewis Spence got a bunch of Phoenix stuff in there. Myths and Legends of Ancient Egypt. Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. Ignatius Donnelly's got a bunch of Typhon Phoenix in there. So does The Shadow of Atlantis. So does Secret Cities of Old South America. Harold T. Wilkins. I already saw that one. Some of these are doubles. Yeah. Babylonian Influence of the Bible and Popular Beliefs. Here's the Sibylline Oracles. That's from 1713. I did a video on those. Book of Enoch, 1896. Mathematical, metrological, and chronological tablets of Nippur. The book's got a lot of translations. Look at this. Here's a whole book, a huge book called The Phoenix, an Essay. But it's a big book. I had to do a video on this. So anybody going to debunk my thesis on that that Phoenix caused the Great Flood, that Phoenix caused the Genesis destruction, and that there are Phoenix cycles, and that 3 of these Phoenix cycles of 552 years are what separated the Genesis destruction from the Noahic destruction? You can't debunk me. You'll be debunking him because he's the one that said it before I was ever born. Cyclical Delusions, such a good book, 1871. We cited that one earlier. There's just so much stuff. Apocalypse, Pseudo-Methodius. Yeah, man. You've Light Angel, yeah, Charles Burgoyne. You got to go to the sources, guys. If you're going to, I encourage you, if you're going to assail the Phoenix thesis, then these are the books you need to read because this is where the data came from. A lot of it. So I'm going to pass on that. History of Antiquity, Long Livers. I got all these. Yeah, let's get out of that file. There's so many in that file. So many in that file. I don't feel like going through all that. Oh my God, that's a lot. So if you're really, really going to be good, I'm talking about if you're really, really going to engage in this, I could actually provide. My Archaics Academy already has everything you need on the historical citations for all the Phoenix dates, most of the Phoenix dates. Because if I was going to attack my thesis, that's where I would begin. You have to begin with the core source materials. You've got to break this shit apart because if that math that I showed you is real, then I'm telling you now, in 14 more years, we have a 3rd magnitude Phoenix event in the month of May. And because Phoenix events actually start from May to May, then 2039 is when Phoenix fallout begins. And it's going to last all the way to May of 2040. Yeah, that's what all this data shows. And when I say data, I'm about to show you what I mean. Because if you think I just showed you anything in this video, I haven't showed you shit. I haven't showed you shit compared to what I got in this file. Yeah, it's just it boggles the mind. All right. You see these files here? This file is just for the year 4309 BC. This file here is just for the year 4309 BC. It's massive. It's massive. It's a massive amount of material you got to go through just for that date on Phoenix. It's massive. And there's several of these little files. But that's just one. 2239 BC. Do you see all these files? Do you think these files are small? Massive files, whole data sets. Here's just mul appin impact. Look at that. Oh, look, it opens up. It opens up. This is the mul appin impact. You can go through here. You guys saw my mul appin video. I have huge data sets. Look, I hit that one, it opened up another one. Huge data sets on all this shit. All the data sets are supported by absolutely cited references. You can verify yourself. All this stuff goes on and on and on and on. This is just one date in the Phoenix phenomenon, and it produced about 40 files that you saw. All the files have supporting PDFs that have sources and citations. There is nothing in the entire YouTube community that is as well sourced backed with overwhelming data than the Phoenix phenomenon. You can take that to the bank. I've spent my life putting this together. I do invite people to try to take it apart. But if you're going to take it apart, you've got to get these files like from Archaics Academy, and you've got to attack the sources. You got to get these old books. You got to make sure they say what I say they're saying. You got to make sure that all these ancient sources and books about the Phoenix were actually relaying things that were true in that time period and cross-reference with other writers. You got your work cut out for you, because that's the only way you're ever going to be able to attack the math, because the numbers don't lie. Numbers don't change. They don't. So you have to attack the sources that produce those numbers. It's the only way you can do it. Man, it's so much. See, I'm still in the same file. So many, man. Look, this is a great flood, 2239 BC. It just opens up more and more and more files. But even these highly organized files that you see here, yeah. But this is 1902. This is just the year 1902. Do you see this? These word files open up into data sets. This is just the year 1902. And it's not my only file on 1902, as I will show you in a minute. 1902 is one of the best well-censored years in history. Here's more 1902. Look at all this. This is all 1902 too. Everything here is 1902. All different shit in 1902. Blow your mind when you see all this stuff. Let's go back. Here's 1902. All this is 1902. That looked terrible too. You don't want to see that landscape. Here's more files on 1902 up here. Oh, here's 1902 in isometrics. Oh yeah, this is bad. It's a badass deal right here, showing 1902 was an isometric epicenter. You can't make this shit up, man. We live in a hologram. Oh, more 1902. I need to put all my 1902 data together and just do a series of videos on 1902. I've tried a few times in the past, but I never can get all. Now I have all my information together, and I've got massive 4 terabyte drives spread among friends and family where all this. But I've never sat down and actually put it all together where it's supposed to be together. I just have it assembled in the same drives now. It's a work, guys. I have so much data. It's just a working process. It's terrible. It's terrible how much shit I got to do. So I want to show you something real quick though. There's two more items I need to share with you. Okay. If I was going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, I would have to spend my life going through all the sources that Jason provides, making sure they say what they say, making sure the dates are all correct, verifying with a calculator to take it all apart. But me being Jason, I would even take it to another level. I would find out whatever other sources that Jason possesses. I would find those out in some way, even if I had to pay for the information. I would find out, okay, Jason, you provided all this. You've laid out everything for the public to scrutinize. You've done it all. So, what source books do you have concerning the Phoenix that you haven't shared with the public? What are you holding back? Well, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to share them with you right now. Here are the books I have never cited. Here is all Phoenix data that's never been shared on Archaics in any of my published books or anything. I'm just one man, guys, and I'm neurotic about my research. So I'm going to get to it and I'm going to share it. But if you're going to debunk Archaics, if you're going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, you had better get a jump on it, because these books here are all about the Phoenix as well, and I haven't even had time to get the data out of them yet. Haven't even had time. So let me share them with you. All right. The Phoenix, an unnatural biography of a mythical beast. Joseph Nigg. 514 pages. Yeah, man. That's incredible. Let's go to the next one. I hate that I have to exit that and come back in. That is so dumb. StreamYard, you're dumb. Okay, this right here is, maybe I can blow it up. Animals in Greek and Roman religion and myth. This is an academic paper on the Phoenix. I probably won't get a whole lot out of it. They're so stiff-necked. But still, that's what this is. I wish there was a way to go. Maybe I can go back. Hold on. Maybe I can just go back right here. Still doesn't work. Wow, man. StreamYard, you suck. You really suck, man. You're going to make me exit and go all the way. With images, I can go from image to image, but not with PDFs. With PDF, it won't let me do it. Wow, man. StreamYard, you suck. The Dark Phoenix, rewriting an ancient myth in today's popular culture. What? What? This is an Oxford paper. All right. Man, this sucks, man. I can't believe I got to keep going in and out of this like this. So weird. So I've already seen that one. Okay, let's go to this one here. Share my screen again. One day every 216 years, 3 days each decan. This is an abstract. This is a really weird paper. I went through it, but it's got a lot of Phoenix. It's all calendars, Metonic cycle. It's all calendrical stuff, but it's got all kinds of Phoenix cycle stuff in here too. So, yeah, here's the Pythagorean deal, the Metonic cycle right here. The reason this is on my Phoenix deal, because I have to go through the myth of the Phoenix. I got to get all this Phoenix data out of here. Man, you just don't know. You just don't know. I can't. I can't give. Uh-oh. 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 What is that? Man, what's the phoenix got to do with the Easter bunny? Man, I got to get out of that. I got to get out of these texts, man. I can't do that right now. I can't do that right now. Yeah, but if I'm going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, I'm going to go to another level. Being me, I'm going to take it to another level, and somehow I'm going to find out all the stuff also that Jason has not yet revealed, has not had time to pull the information out of. Yeah, here's another book right here. This is 319 pages. Light and Darkness in Ancient Greek and Myth Religion. Reason I got this is because it's got a bunch of Phoenix related stuff in here too. Phoenix is all about darkness, remember? Yeah, man. Yeah, we can't. It's 319 pages, but we're gonna get through that one too, guys. Here's another one. Uh-oh. Talk about that peacock angel. The partridge is a phoenix. Revising the Exeter book. What? What? Scholars now have new evidence that some of the references in Anglo-Saxon texts were actually about the phoenix. Yeah. You got to watch these translators. They're biased. And in different time periods, translators will translate things and they'll completely gloss over something that's very important. Man, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this too. This is the academic paper. Yeah, man. I got my Phoenix hat on today. Let's see. Here is the religious cultures of Dutch Jewry. What? The Phoenix, the Exodus, and the Temple. Constructing self identity in the Sephardi congregation of Amsterdam in the early modern period. Why am I going to read this book? Because my 5-hour video, Occultus Mysterium, already touched upon this topic for you, showing that all the Jewish artwork going back to the late medieval, early Renaissance period, all those woodcuts, all those prints hiding the phoenix in different pictures, it has very special meaning to them. Whole pieces of artwork showing destructions and sun darkenings, eclipses and resets. They put the phoenix in there everywhere. That's my video called Occultus Mysterium. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy this paper here. It's 32 pages. I'm going to enjoy this right here because they're giving us the business. Why would you link the Phoenix to Exodus? What? What? Man, it just gets better and better, man. It just gets better and better. I know I got some of my Archaics veterans salivating. They want to know what's in these texts. I know you do. Yeah, man. Transformations of the Phoenix from the church fathers to the bestiaries. What? Transformations of the Phoenix? Well, I can tell you a lot what's in here without even reading it. Transformations of the Phoenix. Okay. In the earliest times, Phoenix was a calendar beast. That's what the oldest texts describe it as, a calendar mechanism, a calendar beast. That's the oldest. Then, when the religions came to take over the socio-political arenas through Christianity, the phoenix became a symbol of renewal, rebirth, destruction, and resurrection. That's what the phoenix became. And then in the later, after the Dark Age, when Christianity went from very advanced after many ecumenical councils and shit, and it was very advanced, and then all of a sudden the Dark Ages happened. 300 years later, on this side of the Dark Ages, Christianity got stupid again. Now Jesus is Lord of the Mushrooms, and all the saints had X-Men powers over water. It's crazy. And now the phoenix was a bird, just a weird ass bird that landed in Egypt every once in a while and laid a golden egg. It's so dumb. The most advanced concepts are always in the earliest periods. So guys, that's what I would do. If I was going to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, I would have to go and attack all the source materials first because I can't break the math without it. The math stands. So I got to go to the source materials and make sure that math is actually there. Make sure it says what it says. Make sure that whole list of events that Jason read at the beginning of that video can be broken in some way. I'd have to go to the source. I'd have to go through about 1,300 books that Jason went through to get this data. And the best way to do that is to order Jason's 3 books, When the Sun Darkens, Nostradamus and the Plants of Apocalypse, and my huge book that has 600 or 455 sources cited in it called Shocking Secrets of Antiquity. And those 3 bibliographies, which are going to have a massive amount of books, is where I start to get all this Phoenix data. And then I got to attack those sources and attack those sources. I've got to break that math because we can't allow in the world that we're living in today for that 138-year period to actually be true. We can't allow that. So I'm going to show you guys the full extent. What I've showed you thus far is just bits and pieces. Just bits and pieces. Just bits and pieces. So I have a debate file, all right? I'm going to show it to you first. What you're looking at right here is a debate file. Massive amount of topics. It's a massive amount of topics. And each one opens up into, I'm talking about, look at this. Here's the first one right here. The very first one is 300 days of the old world calendars, 360 days. So you guys have seen this data before. These are all the citations from old books except for a new folder of new books I've read in the last 6 months I have on my desktop that have not yet been incorporated. These are the citations from old books that all show that the ancient year was 360 days. Now, here are charts. You've seen a bunch of these, putting the history of the world together according to this data. And then a massive data set. Here's a massive data set that I already have prepared for anybody in the world who thinks they're qualified to try and tell me that before the 8th century BC, we didn't have a 360-day year worldwide. And that the 365.25 day that we have today is the result of a very strange event that happened in the 8th century BC. Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for the fool that actually takes me up on that challenge, but I'm very well prepared for it. But that's just one file in my debate file. Right here. This is just one file right there. These are all the topics I'm just ready to unleash on somebody when they get out of line. Well, let's look at this file. You see this file here? Let's click onto it. That's my Phoenix file. My Phoenix file looks pretty small, doesn't it? Every one of these open up into massive data sets. Every one of them. But those are organized. That's stuff I share with you guys. That's all organized. Look at this file. Why isn't it a separate file? Because I'm a lazy SOB and I ain't organized all this shit. And these files are packed with hundreds, sometimes thousands of data points. Yeah, I just have so much shit. Trying to produce content for YouTube and be on the underground once a week, in my Cypher community once a week, and collate my data and put it all together is a chore. Yeah, this is full time for me. This is all Phoenix. There's nothing here that's not Phoenix related. Everything here is Phoenix related. And it's unorganized. Just totally unorganized shit. What is this? Procopius? Yeah. Just totally. But I mean, I can organize it super fast. I just haven't done it. But so there's just a bunch, guys. It's a massive amount of shit. What is this? Oh shit. All these are Phoenix events. Yeah, man. Oh yeah. So much stuff, man. You got guys, I can literally do a 20-hour Phoenix video and never get through all of it. So in order to debunk the Phoenix phenomenon, you can't break the math. You're not going to be able to get through. The arithmetic stands. It's self-referencing. It's self-referencing in the measurements of the Great Pyramid. And what's worse for the person attempting to debunk this thesis is that it's self-referencing in other dimensions of arithmetic, in pi and phi proportions, and even holoflective sequencing. We have verification over and over that calendars are a part of a holographic template. So the only recourse that a very serious researcher has in order to try to do anything and attack this thesis is to go to the original old books from which I derived my data. Then this concludes this video, guys. I got it in 3 hours and 4 minutes. So this concludes this video. And I got Pops. I got Dad and Mark on the way. They said they might be here now. They said they're gonna meet me here at 5. But my dad and my brother-in-law are here. So I'm about to go. But I'm just telling you now, I've told you guys over and over, this is the unassailable thesis. It's not because I'm special or I'm intelligent. I spent many years in prison putting all this together, but I'm standing on the backs of giants. And I've said this, Jay Anderson can get pissed and throw a little temper tantrum all he wants. But I say this to my community all the time. When I'm referring to archaics, I'm always saying we, because I include you guys. Some of y'all sent me profound emails that sent me into new research directions. But when I say we, I am talking about every single soul in the construct, present and past, who contributed to this amazing amount of data that we have right here for free on YouTube. For free. So I'm going to close with like a super badass song. And if you want to see really profound data sets on the Phoenix phenomenon and Nemesis X, Dark Satellite, the Great Pyramid, you got to go to the underground. My research is posted in the underground. There's spaces that are nothing but my research. Nobody else, just my stuff's in there. Yeah, man, if you want to see it. So if you are seriously considering trying to debunk the Phoenix thesis, reach out to me in an email. Let me know what materials you need. But other than that, I'm done, and I'm going to. I'm about to. I got a super badass video that closes this perfectly. Perfectly. That was fun, guys. I'm glad I got it in the time allotted. I'm glad I got it in the time allotted. I did. Man, my computer is really pissing me off today. Really pissing me off. There it is. Love you guys.
Shadow wake the world from this machine.